Okay, it's 8:15 and I will call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will say that I do have a hard stop of 11:15, because I have another meeting to get to. So we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Any changes?
I have at least one. I'm walking on the minutes from our Friday meeting, which are
Okay,
really summary in nature because there were no actions taken. It was just the telecom discussion.
what day was that?
That was the 21st, I think.
Yeah.
And then one item I want to suggest, and based on your comment, Chair, is that in our executive session, we prioritize the water rights adjudication because of your watershed management board meeting this week.
Great, okay. Thank you.
And we also have the performance of the GM was requested in the
Yeah,
on executive session. It's not showing up on
but it may make sense to postpone that.
I'll leave that up to you guys.
Yeah, let's
Requested it to be there.
postpone that because you're right. We want to prioritize the water rights adjudication. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
One last thing,
Oh.
Commissioner Legacy had some corrections
Okay,
for one of the minutes that, yeah.
Is that on the next one though?
consent.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got ahead.
Yeah,
My
okay,
apologies.
let's approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 On the consent agenda, it sounds like there were changes to how they wanted to make.
On the minutes, yeah.
Okay.
So there were just some noted really Scribner's errors almost, but it under, and we actually don't have those minutes in front of us. Is that right, Chris? We don't have the minutes from June 11th.
I actually have them from me, but yeah, each one of you was sent the package. if I
Yeah.
recall.
So anyhow, if on that meeting, I think it confused approving the consent agenda with approving the minutes. So we just need to correct that. And then under number 3 on those minutes, it didn't show any action on whether or not we made a motion to approve the claims.
Mm,
And I couldn't remember, do we motion to approve claims?
we do. Mhm. If it's a part of the consent agenda, yeah. So the consent agenda, you just have to make one motion to approve
Yeah.
the consent
And that
agenda.
was-
Okay, that was,
And yeah,
okay,
and so
thank you.
that approves it all in its entirety.
So I can go back and revise the item 3 to reflect Commissioner Legacy's comments.
Okay.
And I just submit that for your approval.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll move to approve the minutes that we have in front of us for June 21st and the minutes for June 11th with those.
Okay,
How about the claims?
Sure,
and the minutes of June 21st are special. meetings.
yes,
Yes.
yep.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. His decibels, I think your frequency is lower.
Yes,
Whispering. Shout it out.
okay.
Okay. We'll move on to public comment. Is there anybody that would like to make a public comment? Anyone online? I don't see any hands raised. There will be a second opportunity for a public comment towards the end of the meeting. So we will move on to the general manager's report.
So I want to let everybody know, first of all, that I've been invited down to the West Tech meeting, which is the basically it's the group that is looking at replacing the old Columbia Grid Transmission Study Group. And that is July 17th. So I'll be down in Portland overnight on the 17th. And then my next question is, I can't go to the Waputta General Managers meeting. That's also on the 17th. But is anybody going to be down at the Waputta meeting in person?
I'm still working on my schedule.
Okay,
I'm at-
you're online. Commissioner Justman, you
I wasn't planning on.
know, okay. If you're not going, I'll go and be there in person. I haven't been to the regular commission.
Yeah, then I'd rather just opt out if you two work it out.
Okay, we'll work it out. Yeah, if you're there, I'm not gonna be there, but if you're not gonna be there, I'll cover you, so. Just let me
And you
know.
got to teach line dancing too. That was part of the requirement.
Oh, this one?
I'm just joking.
Okay,
That was my volunteer.
Oh, you were gonna teach that?
we're doing it.
It's next one.
And then I just wanted to call everyone's attention to all of the things that are happening now with regards to the Snake River dams,
Yeah.
the 6 sovereign agreements, the Columbia River Treaty. I'm going to editorialize a little bit, but I'm not sure I've ever seen public power under such attack from our federal government, from tribes, from various environmental groups in such a coordinated way ever. I think all the things that are happening are aimed directly at breaching all the dams on the Columbia and doing it very quickly. I think it'll be devastating for the economy if that's what happens. And I'm hopeful that that's not what happens, that we kind of wake up and go, wait a minute, this is pretty much counter to our economic interests, our environmental interests, and everything else. But, you know, we've got to get there. So I keep forwarding this stuff to you guys. I hope I'm not overwhelming you because there is so much. I'm sending less than 10% of what I get.
It is overwhelming, but more shocking, overwhelming.
Well, the 70+ page report from the Department of Interior that was published last week, which I did not forward, you guys may have it because you get it through other sources, but I read the first few pages and I was just kind of sickened. Brian read the whole thing. He said it didn't get any better. Basically, it's a 75-page apology to the tribes from the federal government, giving them, in my opinion, a litigation roadmap to reclaim the entire Columbia River system. And it's appalling what they're doing. And I'm just, as I said, it's very editorial on my part. But
Is it more fair to say that public power isn't under attack, but that supply methodology of electrical generation is being reconsidered for its impacts?
well, considering that's probably 95% of public power's resource, it amounts to the same thing in the Pacific Northwest. You know, in other parts of the country that are less reliant on hydro, it would be kind of a meh, but here it literally is the backbone of public power. And we don't have any massive alternatives right now. We have Energy Northwest and the hydro. And then after that, you've got coal, you've got natural gas peakers. You know, and again, the problem is we have all of our transmission built for the Columbia River Gorge, and then the Cross Cascades right there through the Columbia Gorge. And if you start putting other resources other places, you got to build out the transmission, and that becomes highly problematic. So I'm just, it really does feel to me like public power is under attack.
I guess I can't wrap my mind around, like, without like a one-to-one replacement for that power, how is that even feasible?
Well, if you read the documents, what they're saying is that the Lower Snake River Dam breaching that they're proposing is somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 megawatts. And they're proposing to fund 3,000 megawatts of solar on tribal lands as the replacement. That comes nowhere near on either a capacity or an energy basis to replacing the proposed breach dams on the just those 4. It doesn't even come close. It's less than 20% of the energy needs and probably about 15% of the capacity needs.
And then the Columbia River Dam, so like Grand Coulee alone, how do you, what's the proposition for that? How do you replace that?
Well, when you look at the total Columbia River system, including the Snake River dams, you're looking at over 20,000 megawatts of capacity, much of it dispatchable. The size of the federal system for this contract, 7,200 megawatts. 7,250. So, you know, even though you've got 20,000 megawatts connected, the actual capacity is that, and then that's actually what leads you to the energy that's available from it. And that is one of the most efficient dispatchable resources. that you've got other than nuclear. And nuclear is not even that dispatchable. Because once you run it, whether the market's good, bad, or indifferent, you got to keep it on. At least with the hydro, you can ramp it down. But with nuke, that's just a bad idea. You get thermal shock in the pipes. It's not a happy day. So, yeah, there is no plan. You take 20,000 megawatts off in an era when we're looking at adding 20,000 plus megawatts in the next 10 years just in data centers in Washington State. It is a disaster.
You know, I think it's important to say that, as far as, this issue, it's a complex subject. And, we haven't taken any position on the subject. And I'm glad for that, and I continue to support not taking, the commission taking a position on this subject, so.
And just as a reminder, we're going to have on July 12th, the workshop on markets. And that, as Commissioner Jashmani rightly points out, is another factor or facet of the same thing. So it's just one of the other complicating factors that we have to deal with when we're thinking about these issues. And I think that's it from my report.
That was.
Uplifting?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll move on to old business and begin with a broadband update.
So commissioners, we had our telecom 101 on Friday. And as far as I know, nothing has changed since Friday. So I'm happy to report that we're, I think, up to date. Andrew, is that?
That's it.
Did you hear anything yesterday?
Sorry about
Did you hear anything yesterday? You were talking to the Swiss group and.
no, nothing new to report.
Okay.
Other than the presentation from the 21st is available.
That's it for broadband. We'll move on to adjudication.
We'll have an extensive executive session to talk about some of the pending matters in the adjudication and around the adjudication. There is a hearing tomorrow morning, the first hearing. It was requested by Ecology for the order of the issuance of the summons that would be served on all the parties or the named identified claimants in the basin. The court had asked the Ecology to provide a response as to what the issues they wanted to address at that hearing tomorrow. Ecology has responded by saying they'll ask the court to approve a process and set a date to order the Ecology's commence service and that occur on or about August 30th and set a hearing for the court to review the summons and claims form. There's a lot of noise, if you will, or disputes over the claim form that has been drafted by Ecology. And a lot of parties have articulated a view that it's not consistent with the state statute. There are elements that would be concerned to municipals in the form that how it's been drafted by Ecology. We have not seen the revised form by Ecology in response to comments. They had initially indicated two forms, one for small water users, one for large water users. The indication we're having now is you're going to have one form. We don't know anything about it. There's going to be some effort to have Ecology release the form for comment by parties and before the court makes an order, but how that will likely all be discussed tomorrow morning. Lynn Coey from the Tall Mac Wells firm will be appearing on behalf of the PUD tomorrow. I have a long scheduled procedure in the morning that could make the hearing, but I'd be rather groggy. So they'll be attending, and then we'll go over what we'll talk in executive session what our positions are.
What time and what courtroom is that hearing?
It will be in the commission chambers, and it is at 9:30, I believe,
Tomorrow morning.
tomorrow.
You mean the county council?
County council chambers.
And what was that time again?
9:30.
9:30. I expect a packed courtroom. Packed room.
That's it for geothermal.
It is at 9:30 a.m.
Will it be recorded?
It'll be online as well.
You know if it's
I
recorded?
do not. Of course, order did not say that, but it will be available for online. And I can, if you're, I will get that link if it's available on the court website, and I'll send it to you so you can watch it.
Thank you.
Is that all for adjudication for executive session?
There's been a number of filings that I intend to address in executive session. Let's see. One thing I can do outside, I guess, executive session, there's a neighbor here, the Apple Dairy, and it is a small corner of property that they have that is within their water rights scope. That's in the property that PUD's purchased. And so here's a map I went for everybody. You can check that down. We have been asked. You know what I'm speaking of, Chris? I do. So on this corner down here, the river comes by, the property that PUD acquired. There's a square to the left, and so it picked up this little triangular piece. The southwest corner of the blue square, which is the Apple Dairy property. So that portion, the PUD property is to the left of that blue rectangular area. But the water right for the Apple Dairy is the area of the blue square. So that little corner across that triangle corner that's on our side of the river
Crosses the river.
is within their water rights service area, their place of use. So they've asked if we would disclaim any interest in that water right to serve that little triangle piece on this side of the river. We have never used that water right to irrigate that
No
area.
intention to use it.
No intention. We don't have any.
Didn't
interest in
even
it.
know we had it.
And it's only, we don't even have the well on our side. This is just where the legal description of their certificate. That someone pulled from a deed at some point or just did a generic drawing. Included this little triangle on the opposite side of the river to the dairy. They've asked us if we sign an affidavit of non-use, and I said we have no reason to assert a right to use that little corner of property. Yeah, so I'm letting you know this. This is one of those kind of areas. Well, we bring it back to the commission for approval of declaration. I told them that we may bring it back to the commission to approve the affidavit of non-use. It'd be on your next agenda. If you don't care to see that declaration given this and want to authorize Chris to sign something approved by me, you could do that by motion today. Otherwise, we'll bring that declaration back to your agenda next week.
How are you feeling about that?
Need to do some digestion on this. I guess I'm just,
So what the dairy is on the east side of the river.
Right.
The well is on the east side of the river.
Yep.
We've owned that little triangle on the west side of the river. That well is never irrigated to our knowledge, that little triangle on the west side of the river, but their legal description for their place of use
Includes it.
includes that triangle.
We have an in-stream water right, we pull water from the actual river.
Yeah, it's near our diversion. Yeah, that's where we use.
But
all
this
our-
doesn't
We have a-
affect our diversion.
Do we have I'm just asking some questions, so do we have a well on this property? And then also, do they have just a well, and do they have a diversion from the river
I
too?
don't know if they have a river, oh, this is they do have a surface water diversion in this area. But it's on the east side and it doesn't serve this area. I guess I said wells, but they're both surface water diversions. They've never irrigated this triangle. It's kind of the bottom line. It's a surface water diversion, not a ground water diversion.
And do you know if their water right is solid?
We believe it is back to a priority date of 47, that it's been irrigated for irrigation purposes since that time.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'm comfortable with it.
I'm comfortable with it too, but
All we're doing is disclaiming any.
Yes,
There-
maybe we give Todd a chance. If that's
just
okay,
need
that's
to-
okay with you
to-
guys?
You two have had a little more of a
Yeah.
head start on.
Right, no,
understanding
absolutely.
water rights.
No, yeah, let's take the time we need
We'll bring it back next commission meeting.
Thank
just
you.
to get a
you.
unanimous support. for it.
they make lovely cheese. Dairy, lovely cheese. So we'll do this at the next commission. All right.
If you want, you want us to pass a motion.
No, we're gonna put this, we'll bring the declaration draft that they sent came into me this morning. I was already prepared to talk to you about this, and I told them, well, we may bring it back for commission approval of the affidavit after we receive it, unless it's resolved today. And so I have no problem putting it on the next agenda.
Did we buy that triangle from them? Did we purchase
No,
that?
they don't.
From them, I don't think that, I don't know, this property was purchased long before I was council.
Yeah, this was purchased back in the sixties, I
Yeah,
think.
I don't think this property was ever owned by the Apple Dairy, the west side of the river. I don't know that for certain.
Oh, okay.
The circumstance is just that whoever did the certificate back in the forties for the prior owners of the dairy side, did a box
They did it as a square.
as a square, and they didn't say follow the river line.
Which the property line says. So we never, actually, they never owned that property.
They just gave on the water rights certificate when you submit it to ecology. They said,
They just squared it.
they just squared it off like a quarter section or something.
Okay,
Now, it's also possible, this is less likely, but possible, that the river has shifted course over the last 50, 60, 70, 80
And it will
years.
again.
And it was a complete parcel at one time, and now the river is where it is, and, you know, I mean, it gets really confusing when you get further back, and especially near geographic features that move.
From our perspective, the bottom line is, we have no interest in their surface water diversions. No right to claim that. If their legal description described a portion of the PUD ownership where that water has not been used to our knowledge for at least 5 years. We have no right to assert that, and this, it helps them clean their record up, getting ready for the adjudication.
Yeah,
that seems reasonable. If it would help you to move that today, then.
It's one way or the other. It's probably more efficient for your next meeting. One
Okay,
less
great.
item on the agenda.
Thank you, John.
Well, John's suggesting it'd be better to do it today.
Today. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Great.
you're gonna save time then later. So if that's the
I'm
case,
comfortable with this.
the motion would be to authorize Chris to sign declaration approved by ourselves releasing any interest in the Apple Dairy water rights on PUD property.
What you said, I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second that one.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I can help you later with that.
Aye. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
One item then.
The next on the agenda is the geothermal update, and just as a reminder, the RFP from the Nooksack is still on the street. We're expecting that to close sometime either late this week or early next week, and they've got a meeting set up with us to begin evaluating the RFP. This is for the pre-feasibility study. So, other than that, not a whole lot's been happening on geothermal. And not a whole lot will happen until we get the RFP awarded and get a contractor on board to start the study.
Any questions? All right, we will move on to new business then. Begin with the action memo to approve pole attachment agreement with PSE.
So just as a reminder, we own a few poles in the county. Sumas owns a few and Blaine owns a few. Puget Sound Energy owns the rest. I guess that's not completely true. There are some telecom poles that are owned by Frontier, who is now those owners, I believe, whoever they are, and so on. But the majority of the poles are owned by Puget Sound Energy. So this is a countywide agreement with PSE that would allow us to attach to their poles after going through their process and make ready work. And if you go back in your agenda packet and take a look, the agreement is pretty long. It's 50, 60 pages, but it's pretty comprehensive. And I can guarantee you it has been thoroughly litigated by a lot of folks that are bigger than us. And the UTC has been the one that's been responsible to make sure that these are reasonable and just. And that being said, if we wanted something changed in this agreement, we lack leverage. In other words, we are not even the tail wagging the dog. We're a flea on the tail. And Puget would probably not entertain anything, and they would just say no. We need this attachment agreement to complete our project up in Point Roberts. So we'll need to be making these poles ready and attaching to them beginning this year. And so that's kind of the impetus behind getting this negotiated. Andrew was the one who worked diligently, negotiated along with John's group. They've been back and forth 100 times on the agreement, and that's probably an exaggeration, but many times.
Many times in different forms, different clients, and always the same answer.
Yeah. So Andrew, do you have anything to add to that whole mess I just said? Okay. So we're looking for the agreement.
I'll make that
To
motion
execute.
to approve the pole attachment agreement with Puget Sound Energy.
I'll second that, but ask for a discussion.
Sure. Yes, certainly.
So along those lines, I remember during our telecom 101, we had a budget that was presented and had pole attachment fees as on there. And I guess I'm just trying to learn a little bit. The budgetary amount is it on a per pole basis, or is it a for the entire county? How does that, I guess, budgeting item work?
It's per pole per year.
Per pole per year?
Yeah, so if you don't use it, you don't pay for it.
But if we have it up on each pole that we're attached to, we're paying for.
Right.
Is there an additional charge when we do a drop to a residence? Or is it just to string it along?
Yeah, it's just to contact the pole.
Okay.
So you're a tenant on their pole,
Mhm,
and you're essentially buying rights to use a little bit of space
mhm.
and use it to do a pass, use it to do a drop. Anything you want to use it for. The only thing is if you're going to put up 2 cables or more, then they want more money because you're a bigger tenant. So that's kind of how, really broad terms, that's how that
Mhm.
works.
And has the UTC looked at the amount of money that they charge versus the cost on a per pole basis with the depreciation and all of that? Do they regulate the amount of profit that PSC makes there?
So the short answer is yes. They've been through all that many times with them. Of course, the UTC is also concerned with the health of the electric utility. So they're, the one thing, the caveat is that if they overcharge the telecom utility, it makes the electric utility more healthy. Therefore, you need less in electric rates, right? So the UTC has kind of built-in bias that way. Counter to that is the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. They have set caps on these rates and also on the process for how long it takes and all that, because their incentive at the federal level is to make sure that if there's poles out in the public right of way, that they're available for use to expand the telecom system nationwide. So you've got the 2 regulators that have a little bit of a dynamic tension that oversee this whole process at a state and a national level. And it's really interesting. And in fact, the lawsuit that set it for the entire nation came out of Pacific County here in Washington in 2013 Pacific lawsuit, or maybe it was before that. But that was the one that triggered where the FCC looked at it and said, baloney, the electric utility has got to respond to a make-ready request in a certain number of days. I think it's 60. And then they have to actually bill you and do the make-ready work within a fixed number of days after that. What we were seeing industry-wide was electric utilities who didn't want anybody on their poles. They would just take the applications and sit on them. And, we're doing what they said. We're just, we're too busy. We're hooking up new customers, and perhaps they were telling the truth, perhaps not. And anyway, the FCC intervened. Pacific PUD was one of the utilities that was doing that. And the FCC ended up calling them out.
And then who does the wiring, if you will, for the PUD? Do we have a subcontractor that we use that does that? We don't have our own employees doing it.
That's correct.
Okay.
And right now, I can't tell you who that would be. At the end of the design phase of this project, we'll have a biddable package, and then we'll turn around and bid out the actual construction.
Okay.
And that'll be in August, September, to have that in the street.
Yes.
And so we'll have a contract coming back from you guys to approve. That'll be kind of the next step in this thing.
And the safety for that falls to that subcontractor then. And the reason I kind of
And all the
asking
work area protection and everything.
some of these, I remember one time when at the fire department, I actually got to watch a cable line burn and plastic melting off because it had been energized by the wires. So just want to make sure that if we have our employees that, not that the subcontractors aren't, but they're going to do their safety and
Mhm.
so, okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, and usually what you saw was where you have the high voltage
Yeah.
line fall onto the messenger.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with the cable company.
Nope.
Because the energy that's in the fiber is not sufficient
Right,
to start a fire.
right.
It just,
But it is
Just not-
interesting watching.
Yeah.
That, so.
and where you see really weird things happen is where you get people who aren't that good with it and they're not managing the tail when they start to do the splice and accidentally whip it up into the high voltage lines. And that is a potential source of danger. So, you know, that's something that the telecom linemen are really kind of, they're aware of that risk.
Mhm.
That's part of their craft is to
Mhm.
manage that risk and eliminate it. And something doesn't need to happen.
Thank you.
I just have a clarification question. So you will be entering into this agreement with PSE and we have currently 181 poles that we're leasing. Is that space that we're leasing? Is that right? Yes,
I
yeah.
think that's about it. Yeah.
And so this allows you to add to that.
Well, currently, we've got separate agreements for little bits of our telecom system that we've got for our SCADA
Mhm.
that are off of our poles. So that's the 181 poles. The issue with Puget was they said, look, you might contact a couple thousand poles at Point Roberts. You're gonna have, you know, if you win these BEAD contracts, you're gonna have the same issue, you know, down here on
Right.
flat and we want one contract. So consolidate the 181 poles with the rest of it and make it one contract.
Gotcha.
So
And that
that's what-
includes future
Yep.
goals.
Yep. Yes, sir.
How is the port dealing with the same issue?
Well, I believe that they contracted CSD to do the franchise agreement with the county and the pole attachment agreement with Puget.
Yeah, we've been through the franchise went through about the same time. We did it, split the fees between the port and PUD for that. The county franchise agreement, they have that countywide franchise agreement, you know, and I didn't work on the pole attachment agreement for the port, but just my experiences with Puget before a variety of other municipalities or entities it's gonna be the same.
Okay, so they're basically going through the same thing that we.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and
They
they're
have,
attaching to poles. They're on Puget poles and they have been for about 18 months. So
so they already have a.
yeah,
pole
Puget's
attachment.
not gonna let them on unless they've got an agreement.
And just to be clear, that agreement is probably very similar to this.
It's identical.
It's probably identical. Yeah. I mean, it was perhaps a year earlier, but
I have no further
it's the same issue.
Well, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Okay, so moving on to the action memo to improve consor work orders, Second Amendment to. I said that right, consor.
On Kurt to talk about this.
Morning, Commissioners. Morning, John. Yes, that's right, Commissioner Arnett. This is amendment to the work order for the design of rebuilding Plant 1. This work order will take us through all the way through bid for the utilidor and also continue doing design of the plant, but it won't be the full plant design, but it'll be the full utilidor design. As you know, we've been working on getting Plant 1 rebuilt, and so we're just working with Consor, who's our engineer, to keep moving this forward. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, as a reminder, the utilidor is essentially a tunnel where we're putting a lot of our facilities in it before Ferndale does a road realignment out by Plant 1. So
Yeah,
that has to be out of their way.
They're doing the road alignment
So-
as well as rebuilding or not necessarily rebuilding the levee, but building the levee up there from downtown Ferndale past the plant. Yes, Commissioner, you have a question?
Yeah, so the first question is that the scope of this project is limited to the utilidor, or does it go beyond the utilidor?
Well, it's
So
the,
it funds design work.
Chris.
It funds the
Go-
design work.
Go
for the-
ahead.
Go, yeah,
Yeah, it funds the full design of the utilidor all the way through bidding out to a contractor, and then it doesn't do that all the way through for the plant. It just continues plant design, because the plant's going to take several more steps for full design. We basically have the plant footprint, kind of a basic plan, but it's still lots of electrical and plumbing and HVAC and structural. There's still a lot to be done there for the plant.
okay,
And as a reminder, we're going to be bringing to you guys the overview of what we think the design needs to look like as part of this year's budget process. So you'll see that before we do any kind of final design on this plan, and we'll get you guys direction on it.
yeah, and we're gonna discuss workshops later,
Mhm.
but it's a, $100 million-ish kind of project that's been discussed. And I'd like to hear from the commission about this, it's not our job to do the design. But it is, I'm saying, and I want to find out what the rest of the commission says. Beyond the approval of the budget, I would also like us to be able to review the assumptions of the design and the goals of the design. And to have the team work from those assumptions and goals and deliver us a budget, a design that meets those assumptions and goals. So the assumptions are like the foundation stones, and the goals are what we're trying to accomplish. And I want to hear from the commission verbally about how you two feel about that. Whether you agree or you don't agree.
I think I'm kind of a high processor. So I have to take a minute to
Let's discuss it at a
really,
future meeting.
yeah, think about what you're asking there, because I don't want to be involved in a design process, but I am interested in the outcomes of what that, process. I don't know, I have to think a little more on what you're asking.
Okay, so let's plan to
Yeah.
put that on the agenda to get a clear direction from the commissions. On how we want to provide direction.
No, I agree with the two of them.
I'm trying to think ahead and avoid future
Yeah,
issues.
no, I appreciate that, yeah. Is there any other questions for Kurt about this memo?
No, we're approving we're not yet approving the couple of $1 million, but we're approving a plan for a couple of $1 million in funding.
Yes, so there was no fiscal impact to this action memo, is that correct?
But
Yeah.
Chris, we'll be coming back with specific work orders right?
So what we're asking you to do is to authorize the utilidor work and then continued work by Consor on the design of the larger plant. We have been going through a lot of iterations with Consor. That is management's job. And so we are asking for millions of dollars to do the utilidor design work, and then that'll feed into our capital budget for next year. Next year, we'll have more design work in the budget, and that feeds into the capital budget in out years. And so today we are asking, and it doesn't have fiscal impact in terms of modifying the budget. It's already in the budget that you've approved. But the issue here is that we're asking for your approval to sign off on the work on the utilidor and continued design work on plant one.
A couple of $1 million of expenditure. Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like I have a motion to approve this.
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, great.
I'm just making sure we all know what we're approving.
Yes, yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the action memo for the Consor work order 2, amendment 2. I think this just,
It's,
it's
yeah,
necessary, yeah.
yeah, great.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, so we can have a, study session.
We have to vote, so,
Yeah, I just want to, as part of the
yeah,
conversation,
yeah.
make sure that we have that in a very recent study, very soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't want to I don't want to pause this important work. Okay, so all those in favor?
All right,
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners. And then I have
Okay,
the
you're on the
one
next
as well. Yes.
great.
So this one is for rejecting all the bids for our D station project. We did have one of the bidders had a formal protest that the general contractor did not properly state that they were doing some of the work themselves, which is actually part of the RCW that they should do that, and that's part of it is because our bid documents were not clear on that RCW. Our bid documents hadn't been changed in quite a while, and so because it was pointed out to us that our bid documents were not actually correct to the RCWs, we feel that it's the best plan to just reject all bids. We've already been working with CSD Law to update our bid documents, but beyond that, before that, we feel like it would be best for the PUD's interest and to make it clear for the PUD and all contractors to just reject all the bids and go back out to bid at a later date. And so what we're requesting is your approval is to reject all the bids. We update the bid docs and then rebid.
so I have some questions.
Yeah, go for it.
So we would have been probably today approving a bid, is that correct? But
That is
because of the
correct,
objection.
Commissioner.
So what is the time impact and the cost impact of the project of this rebid?
I don't really see the cost impact changing, but it will put us back probably a month to 6 weeks behind our schedule that we were looking at.
And what does that cost us?
Well,
Because there was some complications with some pools or so, there's something, I don't remember what it was, with some timing that we were under the gun for something for timing. Weren't we on this or no?
We are trying to work with BP, who this line is almost a direct link to BP. We're trying to work with them within like their turnaround schedules and their schedules. And so Garrett has been in contact with BP to work with them on that timeline change. But we're not getting any punitive costs from any of the contractors for rejecting the bids. There's there's some staff time, of course, but it's not affecting our dollar figures to BP or to the contractors or anything like that.
Okay, well, that was my main thing. And if there's anything we can do as a commission, if there's timeliness issues, expediency issues, special meeting or whatever, I'm open to that personally, so.
Okay, thank you.
I did notice Garrett had his hand raised.
Oh,
You might want to weigh in on that.
Yeah, we have to promote him to a participant.
Oh, okay.
There he is.
Yeah, hey, I was just gonna touch bases and kind of reiterate what Kurt was saying there's no direct impact to the cost at all with overall project. The cost is kind of locked in with BP and the materials. BP's working really well with us, just expediting this on their end. So, it just came down to, basically not updated bid forms with RCWs that recently got updated. And John's team worked very quickly in turning around a bid package. So as soon as this gets approved, we can go out for a rebid right away.
and there will be a financial impact from John's team.
Yes.
So does this, by rejecting bids, is that an accepted part of the process that may occur? And it doesn't open us up to any increased liability or?
No, what it does is it avoids the liability and risks associated with an improper bid and challenge, which then someone could take it to court or have further delays to resolve a challenge or later reject bids. We heard the objection rather than fighting it. We agree there was a flaw in the bids with regard to the.
Yeah, better in a way, solving from future problems.
And total repackage of the bid form, the general bid forms and specs that'll be used in the future for all projects. So I would say from one side, there was a cost on this, but it was a cost you should bear anyways to update your bid forms. So there's a 4 to 6 month delay here, but in the scheme of things, that's probably less than if you fought a bid package, bidding and then had to start over.
So I'm familiar with plant 1 and plant 2, but I haven't heard of D station yet.
It's a valve station. It's up, is that right off of Kickerville? Is that where
Correct.
it is?
Kickerville
And it's at the end,
Oh.
it's at the end of Alder Grove.
Yeah, so it's a valve station that's out there, serves BP.
How big of a facility are we talking about? Is it?
Inside the fence line
Is
is
it a
probably
building?
200 feet by 200 feet inside the fence line, and then there's like a 15-foot square building in the center of it where the valve station is.
Commissioner, if you'd like, I can take you out there, walk you through the plans of what the upgrade's gonna look like, so you can get a clear picture of what is happening out there.
I love field trips.
Yeah, Kurt actually took me, when I first became the commissioner, out on a drive to see all of the property. And
That's true, Commissioner. I guess I apologize, Commissioner Legacy, that we haven't done that for you yet. And
Well, I felt pretty lucky I got to walk this.
you did
plant
walk
in the
through
rain
plant
with
2.
you.
That's true. But we
Yeah.
didn't take you out.
Yeah,
We
we
didn't take you on a field trip though.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We have scheduled for a nice sunny day like
Yes.
right now.
Yeah, Commissioner Legacy has lots of, pipes and equipment history, so I'm sure he would be enjoyed and might even have a good idea
Or two,
or two.
or bad idea. You never know.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
bad
looking at
idea,
you,
you get to shoot down.
So I'll make a motion to approve the cancellation of the D station project bids and open it up for rebid.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye, perfect.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Discussion of July and August work sessions. Thank you so much, Kurt.
So we have the July 12th work session. And then I'm still working with Karina to get the next set. There's a couple of things in there.
July 12th is markets.
I'm sorry.
July 12th is the markets one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, and that'll be at the Linden City Hall. And my intent would be to hold the later one in July or the first one in August would be at the Blaine City Hall to get them out in the areas. And I talked to the mayor and she said, yeah, when you've got a date, let us know. We'll talk. Yes, sir.
Yeah, crazy idea. Might make sense to invite our public power friends at Sumas and Blaine to that work session. They might enjoy it.
They might, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to, yes, that's a great suggestion.
It's a public meeting,
Yeah.
There might be good people to have in the room.
Yeah, my only reticence is I just gotta be a little bit careful because we're not trying to.
Oh, no.
Domineer them in any way. It's.
No,
Yeah, I
maybe,
think you're right. It would be helpful for them. I gotta figure out a way to.
maybe I'll
Make sure
do it.
that's how they view it.
Maybe if you send me a notice and I'll just forward it to them.
Well, I know.
Yeah, I know you know them, yeah, but maybe less seem that way if I just forward it to them.
Well, I'm just gonna tell them that, at your suggestion, that we're having the work session that
Okay, great.
covers our view of markets. Part of that is BP, which, BPA, and they're a complete, too many acronyms.
Mhm.
Bonneville Power Administration, and that they are load following entities of BPA.
Yeah, maybe we just refer to them as colleagues.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have something meaningful to contribute
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
conversation
Yeah,
as
it'd be-
well.
Well, and I suspect the city manager for Blaine has been in power markets for about 25 years.
Yeah.
And, he was part of the SPP markets in Wyoming in his last job, and
They might teach us something.
You might, yeah, and yeah, it's just the bilateral markets here are very different than anywhere else in the country. It's useful to have seen these and see another one, and then come back to this and go, oh my God. And I'm not sure how he takes it. But SUMAS is a simple load following entity of BPA, and I know their mayor would probably be happy to show up if we can schedule it.
That's great. When did we want to discuss this you know, like the design process and what our role is in that, when it's like what part of when sooner rather than
So it's
later?
occurring to me that
Okay.
it's somehow connected, it is connected
It's
to
tied to the
budgets.
budget. Yeah.
So it would make sense to make it part of a budget workshop.
Okay, and we want to start budget workshops in August?
I would recommend that this one just be a standalone where we talk about.
Maybe the
plant
first, maybe the first budget workshop or a standalone.
I think just a standalone workshop because, you know, what we need is direction in terms of, yes, this is how we want you guys to proceed. And then that allows us to cook the budget and come back and say, okay, you gave us direction. Here's what that translates to in action.
By cooking the budget, you mean not cooking the books?
No.
You mean by
No.
developing and the budget.
Beautiful soup.
Unless you're serving vichyssoise, the soup must be heated. So it's, you know, you're, well, there's a few other cold soups, but by and large, soups need to be heated.
The use of the word cook with budget. Having fun with that, so.
So I do have a question, I guess, for the other commissioners. About, I was fortunate and I attended the visioning workshop that you all had and earlier. And I don't, you know, it's great that you all got through that. Unfortunately, one of the commissioners, 33 1/3% that attended that and had or I guess 25% because Chris was participating. She's not here anymore and I'm not going to be here after the end of November. So does it make sense for you to work with Chris in having a visioning another part of that, the extension of that, or does it make sense to kick that down the road?
I think it's important to have it, and I want you to participate. One of the things that I've really enjoyed about having you here is that you're coming with your whole self. Do you know what I mean? Like you're looking towards the future for us, you're fully engaged. And that was really.
I just wanted to ask
Yeah,
and
yeah.
make sure that we were considering that,
Yeah.
you know,
Can I
there's.
toss my 2 cents.
Yeah,
I forget who said it, but you go to war with the army you have.
yes,
And we always have, you know, the 3 commissioners and, you know, individuals may come and go, but, you know, we need to have the commissioners
yeah,
working on it and on point.
let's stay in the
I
present.
just wanted to
We got our
make
guy
sure.
right now.
All right.
So no, you don't get a pass.
Nice try though, that was cute.
So, I made some notes, let me read them, so we're beyond this markets. We have on the burner 3 workshops, that we're identifying. The plant 1 workshop. And of course, then probably leading to more workshops on budget. Roles and responsibilities workshop. And a board vision workshop.
And we're looking at a water update at some point this fall.
And the water. So those are 4 items on our list of workshop, and I don't know how, if the commission wants to provide any guidance on the order of those or what, I'm open to whatever order people propose.
Yeah, I mean,
Just, I mean, I can chime in on 2 things on there.
Yeah.
You are gonna have a schedule that's required by statute in the budget, so budget's not something you can
Sure.
kick off till October.
sure,
You need to do that sooner than later. The water, we keep you regularly updated, and so there's to be more companies that can be pushed off to a later if need be.
Yeah.
So just,
is the roles and responsibilities conversation separate from our work? Like, would we have that plus
Combined with-
another workshop or,
Yeah, when I was talking to Karina about this, I mean, the language is going to be really loose that I use here. So we were talking about the roles and responsibilities feeding from kind of the values discussion, feeding into kind of a strategic planning discussion, which is visioning.
Okay.
So I'm not saying there's a clear division. They bleed into each other.
If you do it in one event though, sure.
Potentially. I
Yeah.
mean, that'd be one long event, but yes, we could.
Okay.
And just as a reminder, what we had talked about before, and I can change it, do anything you guys want, was Friday afternoons and try and hold it to about 2 hours. And I think once we get over 2 hours, the effectiveness generally will go down.
Mhm.
That's been my observation in meetings. But
Speaking for yourself and speaking for me too.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Me too.
I guess, but so I'm fine with having multiple work sessions in a month. Like if we have to have a roles and responsibilities workshop in August plus a, plant one budgeting workshop in August, I'm good with that.
Let's just try to do that then.
Yeah, let's do that.
Right.
I think it's really important for our work moving forward to get these things.
Are we just gonna do one in July?
We have one on the books now, and I planned on doing one towards the end of July.
Yeah.
To kind of accelerate.
I'm
this.
traveling in August, just letting you know, so I'll be attending commission meetings remotely for, I'm gone the 6th through the 20th. So I'll miss one commission meeting and won't be here in person for one commission meeting.
Well, remember, if you're here virtually, you're here.
Yeah,
I mean, it's.
yeah, I know,
you know.
I'm just letting you all.
At some point, I will be.
And you'd said in August, yeah.
But I'm willing to work.
I may be able to find internet somewhere. It's not something we live with there.
One of those areas that lives without.
Yes. Go stand on that.
Obviously, we should try, I guess, the retreats and all of our meetings, we should all try to do it so we're all here.
Yeah.
So,
So maybe we can just put out some dates.
yeah,
So till the 6th to the 20th of July or August?
August.
August, okay. Okay. And Commissioner, you're okay through the end of July? Okay, I'll try and get 2 scheduled in July then. And
Sounds
that way
great.
we'll make it a little bit simpler. Then the next priority one I would offer would be the plant one. So that would be first, maybe the only one we do in August if people are traveling and get that done. And then that would push the generic water workshop off until September, October. And at that point, we might have a discussion about pushing it off until a new commissioner shows up because it is a generic kind of periodic update.
Great. Okay, well, if there's no more discussion, we will move on to the operations report.
Hello again, commissioners. So I have
Welcome
Two
back,
items.
Kurt.
one is that we will be having 2 new water operators starting next Monday, July 1st. So we had a
Yay.
successful recruitment, and so we're two new people starting. So that's good news. Lighten our load on our guys have been kind of running around like crazy. And the second thing is I was just informed this morning that we are officially registered for Blaine's Old Fashioned 4th of July Parade. So
we'll have a pickup truck.
Awesome.
Who's going to be driving the pickup truck?
Our commissioner volunteered.
You
Yeah, I think
volunteer.
Todd,
Okay.
Todd,
Are you gonna throw candy at kids? You kids are-
not at kids.
Oh,
You're not
Oh,
supposed to throw it at kids.
gently throw it
Well,
on.
if I'm driving the truck, I can't be throwing.
Okay, somebody's gotta throw candy.
I thought you were gonna be in the back.
Well, I mean, yeah, I am open to do that, but if there's 2 of us, we have to.
We can look at whether that's really an action discussion and just.
Plus, if one's in the bed, one's in the cab, you guys don't talk, we're good.
Or set that.
Yeah, and also historically, I've attended that when I've been a candidate. So I need to figure out what I do.
Oh, that's right.
Ride a
Yeah,
bike?
you need,
Ride
I
a
will, that's what I do, I ride my bike, but like, I'm one of, so I may choose not to attend it as a candidate, just because, but.
You know what, we could do a special meeting notice that says we're gonna be participating in the parade, there's no discussion, agenda items will be in the back of the truck throwing candy.
Yeah.
And that's,
Yeah, that
that's
one.
gonna be the public disclosure, that can.
I mean, the public will be watching
Yeah,
us,
the
so
public-
it's
yeah,
not
I
like,
like
yeah. Okay,
Be no attendance, we'll be virtual.
great, but
No, no, the decision will be pro Jolly Rancher. I know how this works.
So, just to, because it's coming up pretty quickly, we will have to schedule, because we can't talk to each other, we will have to speak to
Just,
you
yeah,
to get
coordinate through me,
information. Yeah, okay. I just like where we meet and all of that stuff.
Got it. That's next week, guys.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's coming up
Excellent. I'm so excited. We're gonna be in the parade.
Monday, it's Thursday.
Thursday
It's-
or Wednesday,
yeah.
I forget.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay,
Next week or this week?
next
Next
week,
week.
Next week.
not July.
Fifth.
Okay,
Thanks, Commissioners.
anything else, Kurt?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to commissioner reports.
Commissioner, can I
Yes.
back up? There was one thing
Sure.
I did forget to talk about on the, on the general
Uh-oh,
manager's
okay.
report. So we're starting to get candidates in for both of our positions and, we're getting enough that it's probably next week or the week after I'll be making decisions around, interviews. And the suggestion was made before by Commissioner Lagacy that one of you sit in on the clerk of the board interviews. And, I would like to, remind you of that and ask you if that was still the intent, and if so, to get one of you to sit on the interviews
For clerk of the board.
for the clerk of the board.
Who wants to do?
Draw straws.
I'm comfortable with you doing it, Todd.
Okay.
You brought it up.
Perfect.
Better.
And
Gotta
I'll,
sit through it.
I'll just coordinate with you.
Sounds
and,
great, sir.
And then you can report back out to the commission. Yeah. And I think we can have that discussion in executive session. Is that correct, John? And then we can have that and you guys can tell me, what your insight is and we'll take care of it.
Great.
Anyway, moving along. Sorry, I forgot to give you that update before.
That's good news.
Yeah.
That we got people wanting to,
That's
wanting to
great.
work.
It's great news. Have you got good help from other people in this regard, or is it just
No,
people?
this has just been our advertisement.
Interesting.
So, yeah, in fact, there was a couple of times where I suspected that we had help from others and I asked and the answer was, well, no, I haven't talked to them. So, it's kind of a
Cool.
interesting.
Everybody wants to work here.
We're getting,
This our.
we got 4 candidates for the HR comm director and we've got 3 candidates for the clerk of the board records.
And we filled 2 water operator
And we
positions.
filled 2 water operators.
So what's up with that? Things are, with the gods are smiling on us as far as that goes, so.
So it's working.
Yeah, that is great.
Well, let's talk to these candidates first.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, no, but I mean, still, it's progress.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
nice that people are applying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is good news.
I didn't get a chance to ask Kurt, were the water operators that we hired, were they previously experienced or are they pretty new?
One and one,
Okay,
Yeah,
one is experienced in the industrial background, and the other it's just
Just-
a good fit.
just fresh.
great.
Okay, then I will move on to commissioner reports. Is anybody just bubbling up? Can't wait to share.
I've got a lot.
Okay, well, we'll start with you then.
I mean, it's just meetings, it's meetings.
Oh, meetings,
So, so tomorrow, is a PPC meeting, and for some reason, it's not waking up. And then there's a water committee meeting. Are you planning to attend that?
I am.
Okay. But I'd rather not, so I'm glad you're covering that. And then there's, of course, the watershed management board meeting too. That's tomorrow.
Mhm.
Okay. So, in lieu of not being able to see my calendar, I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna come back.
Come back to
Yeah,
you.
I'm gonna get access to my calendar another way.
I'm working on my schedule for the Whatcom meeting. And I am also, I guess I should report, I attended the Whatcom County Business and Commerce Advisory Committee. And read the prepared statement during the public comment period. It was well received. And it was interesting to hear the adjudication information being presented and the different outlooks that they had from ecology, which was very process oriented. And then Raider Farms, Brad Raider was there, and he seemed to have the most forward-looking, being effective and looking at actual solutions, orientation. And then the commercial fishermen also had a representative there. And they talked a little bit about the commercial fishing industry. And so hearing those different perspectives was a little bit educational, and everybody has a different outlook on what the adjudication process really is. I think there's still a need in the community for really understanding the difference between the adjudication process and the actual solutions that need to come forward. And then I also pointed out to the committee that they have a lot of other government agency representatives, but they don't have a PUD agency representative, and that they might want to consider that. And then I chatted with the chair afterwards, and it was pointed out that the current charter for the county may require that the quorum for that committee be considered of all members, including non-voting members, of which the government agency representatives are. However, they only have a limited number of voting members. And so by adding additional non-voting members, it impacts the quorum. So I need to do a little bit of research into the charter and into the whole procedural aspects before we proceed with looking at talking to county council about adding that potential. So it's a little bit of research I got to do.
Mhm.
Great.
Lots of people researching the charter, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For full disclosure, I am a charter keeper.
Oh, okay. So lots of people, including you. Okay.
Yes, yep,
Is that all?
that's it.
No upcoming meetings?
Maybe we'll put it.
So I was able to access my calendar. So Energy Northwest tomorrow and PPC Thursday.
What's
Okay.
your Energy Northwest meeting?
Just a recurring meeting. Regular. Every month or
Yeah,
so.
so the Energy Northwest is a public agency, and they do periodic commission meetings, essentially like we're doing. And Atul is our current representative on their board.
Oh, okay. So did you take over Christine's spot
Mhm,
on that
mhm.
board? Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. I have a YRO1 meeting tomorrow, which is really exciting because I know I've been whining about it for about 6 months.
Watershed management.
But we finally,
Watershed management.
we've made progress at the management team and at the staff team
Yeah.
level, and we've got stuff for you
You
guys to
got
look at.
stuff. I know I saw the agenda, really excited.
Good.
Yeah. I'll be attending online. I don't think I can boogie on over to Garden Street in time, so.
Of course, she'll be in the room, right?
I've got a kid at football camp. this
Could
week.
I beg off of our conference call tomorrow afternoon?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Can you forward that agenda to the rest of the commission?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a public meeting and everything, so it's totally appropriate.
Definitely. A lot of good.
Are there any decisions on the agenda for
Uh,
tomorrow?
I will say preliminarily, yes.
Yeah.
And so do you? We should equip Jamie with all the support she needs to make decisions. And I don't know how much of that conversation needs to happen in executive session as well.
No, what the,
Topics.
So the agenda.
yeah, I could,
So public comment. So they're gonna review the groundwater model. They're gonna look at the storage alternatives report from Anchor QEA. And I think in both of those, if there's any decision required, is to accept the report so that the consultants can get paid. But not, I don't know if it's gonna be, any more like directing another study or anything. And then there's the funding allocation. So the staff team and management team have looked at the $300,000 that's funded in the proviso. And we're making recommendations on how to spend that. So that'll be one of the decisions that you're asked for tomorrow, is to approve or modify the recommended proviso investments. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about the Whatcom LIO forum. which is where the Puget Sound Partnership comes in. They move around every year, maybe every quarter. They hold it in a different location, and it's our turn again. It's been a couple of years, and we're going to ask you to approve the I guess it's called the theme and kind of the outline of what we want to talk to them. So that's the gist of the meeting.
It didn't look like there were any super provocative decisions to be made at this meeting.
Do you need any input from the commission or anything?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, if Chris wants to get out that agenda and you all have
Yeah,
any
I'll
input,
forward it to you.
yeah, you know.
Be sure and send the
I've looked at it.
yeah, send the input
I
back to
just
me,
have it.
and then I'll make sure it gets distributed appropriately.
What is Whatcom LIO?
That's the
Local
something organization.
Implementing or.
Is it what?
Intergovernmental.
Yes.
Local intergovernmental.
Well, no, I mean, it is an intergovernmental function. I forget
Okay.
what the I stands for. But it's the local integrating organization.
Okay.
So it's the umbrella group that looks after all of the watershed efforts that go into improving the water quality in Puget Sound. So these guys look at it from a perspective of,
It's the Whatcom Local Integrating Organization. We represent the Puget Sound for the Puget Sound Partnership. Each member of the Puget Sound Partnership has their own LIO. And the Watershed Management Board is a representative for the Whatcom. Just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. Have you met?
she'll be back.
Okay.
And
We can
then,
invite her in for the executive session.
Okay.
on water.
Oh, good. Okay.
quick question,
Mhm.
if she attends virtually and I pop in, the meeting's in person, right? There's in person.
At the garden.
There is, yeah.
Yeah,
You can be in the same place to receive information without violating the open meeting.
okay.
Yeah,
You cannot have a discussion. So
yeah,
whoever.
we're not the speakers anyway, so
So
we're
if
there.
you,
we're not
you
there.
sit back and listen and don't engage, then that's fine. But if you start asking questions or participating in discussion when Jamie's the person on the committee,
Yeah.
then you violate the open.
And you're stepping into James' job.
Believe it or not, I can keep my mouth shut.
That makes one.
I wasn't suggesting otherwise. I was just making sure there's a firm line.
We can, I probably body language and grumbling is okay, though.
Eye rolling, not so much.
Not something, that's across the line.
I want to thank Andrew for the broadband 101 that we had last Friday. It was really helpful, and back to being a high processor. I did enjoy my fellow commissioners' crazy ideas on alternate funding and, you know, looking outside of the box for things. And I just had a couple of my own that so one that I think is important, it'll probably go nowhere, but the US Surgeon General put out a youth mental health advisory at the end of 2022, December 2022. And one of the things that was noted, the advisory was sort of a call to action for like school administrators, local governments, all different people that young people come in contact with to help with this crisis that is youth mental health. And one of the interesting things was that youth that live in rural areas had poor mental health outcomes during the pandemic due to a lack of internet access. So that's important, especially, you know, we have a lot of kids in Whatcom County that are in rural areas. Point Roberts, especially not having good internet access, not being able, they're the only place in the world that I know that the kids have to cross 2 international borders just to get into school. They have a primary school there, but they don't have a middle school or a high school. So when the borders were shut down, that entire area was totally locked down. I remember, you know, getting phone calls from people like trying to engage the fishing community just to get them off the island. So when other kids in our district didn't have internet access, they were getting hooked up from the school district with these little Wi-Fi hotspots. Well, you couldn't even get them to Point Roberts because it was literally locked down. They couldn't cross the border. So just something to think about when it comes to like, how do we make sure during a potential new pandemic, which I don't know if anybody's watching the avian flu, but it's jumped from cow to human, and once it's human to human, it'll be an interesting pickle. So, I know that we all want, I feel like you and I, Christine, broadband was a huge part of the conversations that we were having when we were campaigning. It probably still is, I have no idea. But
Yep, it still is.
yeah, and it's so difficult because we have to get the money. But those are just two things that I think of when it comes to seeking funding and making sure that people are connected. How can we help young people in school and help mental health outcomes? That's it for me.
One thing I wanted to bring up that wasn't really a report, but a question. The road sign that we have, at least from approaching from the south along Portal.
The little green.
Yeah, it's pretty small and it's a little faded. I'm just wondering if there's a possibility of getting our name and some of our rebranding, maybe a little bit more as a bigger sign, not so sun faded.
Does it feel intentional? Maybe we're just hiding out back here.
Well, I mean, I think that that
It could be
used to be something that just occurred as an artifact of people not having an interest, right?
Yeah.
But now, the
Yeah,
PUD is much
I like
more.
that idea, point. Oh, and since you're bringing up entry, now for the fourth time, this dog that's across the street chased me all the way to those bushes. Through our gate, all the way to these bushes. It hasn't bit me yet. But somebody should talk to the neighbor.
Yeah, that's the Ragnar dog. When I walk out and get the mail, he comes after me and I just talk nice to him, and after a while his tail wags and he turns around and walks off.
Okay, so that's good information. He didn't seem threatening to me either, but it's pretty annoying.
He's playing with it.
Yeah, it's
Just
a,
letting you know he's there.
it's an Australian Shepherd. So
Okay,
it's
just
kind of
trying to
Australian
hurt
Shepherd
you.
energy.
Might
They
be
usually don't
trying to
hurt,
hurt you.
they usually don't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Well, I got a scar in a private location from Australia.
Okay.
I go deliver wine to our neighbors every Thanksgiving. I thank you gift for our neighbors. They let it out by accident.
Oh, man.
Simply happened to my
Maybe
son.
y'all need to start carrying snacks. and
Hey,
pockets.
can I go back to the sign for just a second?
Sure, yeah, yeah.
That's good.
When I first got here, that was one of the first things I thought about. And I would just point out to you that it is in the public right of way, governed by the city of Ferndale.
Okay,
So doing stuff in the public right of way for the city of Ferndale is problematic.
Okay.
There.
Think about our Bender Park Tower issue.
Right.
And so I can open that can of worms, and it may not be anything. But the reason I haven't until now is because of that. It's not that I haven't thought about that sign, but it's been a deliberate not touch it, and not because of maintain a low profile. It was other issues.
I think that, would you like one of us to call the mayor of Ferndale?
No, I'll call Jory,
Okay.
the city manager. He and I are friends, and
Okay.
it,
It would be nice to get a new logo.
it's not that, it's not Jory, though. It is the,
council.
no, it's the permitting and the code enforcement.
Mhm.
It's an issue.
They all work for the mayors.
Great. Thank you. Let's move on to public comment. Any public wish to comment? Doesn't look like it.
And we've still got Jack and Michael.
Nope, but they're not raising their
Raising
hands.
their hands.
Okay, so then we will move to executive session to discuss water rights adjudication. It'll take about 45 minutes to an hour.
We'll come
I
out
think we got a lot to talk about.
Okay, so we'll say let's take a 5-minute break. We'll say 10:45. Does that sound
It's 9:30. Let's come back at 10:15 and we'll extend if we need to.
Me,
Okay.
Okay.
come back at 9:45.
Oh, the break, yeah. Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
I'm sorry. Misspoke.
We'll come back at 9:45.
10-minute break.
We're starting executive session at 9:45.
9:45, we'll go to 10:30.
Okay.
And then if we need more time, I'll pop out,
Okay,
let Mike know.
okay, so we will adjourn to executive session. Now 11 o'clock, we have returned from executive session. No action was taken and this meeting is adjourned.